got a big goddamn problem with the news. You ready for this? The news is completely manipulated. Everything you hear every single day is designed by corporate media to do one thing and one thing only. Jesus. To keep you living in fear.
Oh, fear?
Total fear. Fear so you'll go out and you'll spend money on things you probably don't even need, things you probably already have six of, so that their advertisers will keep buying ads on their station. I'll tell you one more thing. You ready for this? I'll do this all day, man.
Your ridicule and vilification of the so-called flat earth conspiracy is a denial and above all gross disrespect of your ancestral blood and heritage.
What did they find out? There was no curve to the earth. What did they find out? They can go but so high, the dome would cut them off. So they began to say, okay, we have to get rid of this. We have to cause it to crash. And say, well, we found a problem with the Concorde. Well, if you found a problem with one of the planes, why would you stop the entire service? Okay, nobody even thought about that. The reason for that is too many people looking out of that little hole, because the hole to the Concorde is about that big, were seeing that the thing was straight across. There was no curve.
The Matrix is a system, Neo. That system is our enemy. But when you're inside, you look around, what do you see? Businessmen, teachers, lawyers, carpenters, the very minds of the people we are trying to save. But until we do, these people are still a part of that system, and that makes them our enemy. You have to understand, most of these people are not ready to be unplugged. And many of them are so inert, so hopelessly dependent on the system, that they will fight to protect it.
There are different areas of habitation, but in our specific envelope, we are in what we call a kind of a Merkaba field. And it's not glass, it's made of what I, at the time, back in those days, said was compressed hydrogen. Now, how do you compress hydrogen? There's no way to compress something that's the first element. Well, they just did it. Now that they did it, everybody's saying, well, yo, Dr. Valentine, I remember you said that the dome was made of compressed hydrogen, and that it was mind-blowing. But now, a little Indian boy, along with a European scientist, actually got hydrogen to a particular way. I don't know how it does it scientifically, so now it's reflecting. You could never get a reflective surface from a hydrogen molecule, but now it's reflecting. So now, we're beginning to see that everything being water in different densities, your air is water, it's just that you're created for a different type of water environment. Oxygen is water, and so is water. So fish breathe there, you breathe here. Right. So, being on a flat plane, everything essentially above as below, there are entities in second and third and fourth and fifth dimensions that are directly above us on their own flat plane, looking up at us and you looking up at them. It's a plane. It's not an earth, a flat earth. All of it is a plane. It's the infinite plane. You gotta create wars and stuff so we can start cropping the population. The people they're sending over there to the Middle East and so, they don't want them coming back. You have to understand that. These people are cannon fodder. They'll come back. The ones that come back, you're supposed to salute and to fly and all that. No, there's no country. There's no flag. There's no anthem. These are for the people who are what we call the sheeple or the thousand-headed ass. They need a rallying cry because the elite need to know that the people under them are under some form of control. If they're fighting one another, they don't look at the elite who's creating the conditions and they don't fight. Look at that terrorist attack. Look what just happened on the West Side Highway. We need more police, we need more guns, we need more sophisticated weaponry. All the while, these sleepers are there to not only terrorize the American public, but to cripple them in their ability to respond to the right enemy. Okay. You see? Because we're not responding to the right enemy. These fabricated terrorists are essentially nothing more than useless idiots, we call them. We call them the useless idiots that they field into the means of battle. And then what happens? Everybody says, look, that lone person, he's Islamic and he's this, and he's great to Allah, and this. No. ISIS. Yeah, ISIS. Yeah, we all know who's created ISIS. The CIA created ISIS. So, understand. Now, there are no real terrorists. The real terrorists are the government. In fact, government means the mental coordination of people. Okay, governmental, the same way that you deal with, say, a big family you have to govern. There's one person that says this is what you do until you're able to do yourself. Government does not allow you to come out of the childhood bracket. They must keep you in a state of arrested development. To do that, they must keep you fearful. So you must be constantly fearful of something to give them a legitimate place in your reality. So what happens? We'll park a few planes into the Twin Towers. They weren't really planes, they were actually missiles. And they weren't actually missiles, they were actually bombs that were already stationed in there. And your father will tell you, about 2 months after the actual so-called 9/11, I spoke and told him it was a demolition. Before any of these other Europeans were coming out saying, I said, look, the demolition, why? Because I looked at the Spanish stations. The other stations, CBS, NBC, were editing as they went along. You know, the live pictures, they were editing and trying to get it back out because all the lies began coming out later. But the Spanish stations were showing what had happened. And what we saw was these charges going off the sides, bringing down the building. And we were right there. I mean, it wasn't the best picture. We saw it with the grainy, what do you call it, but we saw it.
I just didn't like him asking so many questions. He's an academic. What'd you expect? I expect a scientist wants to pick up a little extra cash or keep his mouth shut.
The library contains something. When you're using a book, there's a whole other part of your brain that develops when you're reading. And you're learning the words. And you're understanding the mind of the author. Right. When you're taking pictures and you're looking at pictures, which is what the generation is doing today, it shuts down a part of your brain. You're going into alpha mode now, which is, there's no filter. That's what movies do, and that's what they do with pictures. Pictures take away your filter and goes directly to your subconscious. When you're reading, you're in control of what it is those words mean to you. You're assigning the meaning, not someone else. And so when you are looking at a book and you're reading a book, your mind begins to develop both sides. The brain begins to go into the right brain and begins to think of all the variables and meaning. The left brain is just computing information in order to justify what it is that it's reading. Okay, am I reading the right sentence in the right context? But now you have both sides of the brain working. Okay, and that's the secret to your even the younger ones. Do not have your children looking at TV or playing with computers before the age of 7. Why? Because the brain is a holographic imaging instrument. It needs both sides working. In today's youth, there's only one side working of the brain being developed, and it's doing this. Why? It's causing your brain to start hitting up with neurons, firing constantly, so that you can make sure that you keep up with it. Now you take that same mind and you go into a classroom where the teacher says, okay, well everybody please sit down and let's turn to page. The brain is doing this. Right, and it's like, okay, hurry up teacher, let me know what it is. Give me my next shot of stimulation. Right. That's what they're doing to us. They're dumbing us down by accelerating us up. And we cannot filter out any of the information they're giving so that you just become a download machine. It's downloading information not only in the pictures, but what's behind the picture.
The world causes it. This causes it. This causes it. This causes it. Information overload. All the electronics around you poisoning the airwaves. Technological fucking civilization. But we still have all this shit because we can't live without it.
Why am I so sensitive to foods, certain foods? Why am I sensitive to certain chemicals? Why am I sensitive to noise or other people's vibes? You know, like I can't be around certain foods. It's just overwhelming and too much for me. Well, that's because my sensitivity scale is just turned way up. Way up.